Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to apologize for our delay and thank you for your patience. It's the end of day 11, and I want to begin by providing some additional clarity and updates regarding the demolition process, specifically when it will take place. Over the past 48 hours, our unified command team has been working tirelessly with the demolition experts to quickly and safely prepare the building for demolition and to create a safety plan for the surrounding area. The demolition will take place tonight between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. The method of demolition is known as energetic felling. It's a process that uses small, strategically placed explosives and relies on gravity to bring the building down in place. The demolition itself is confined to the immediate area around the building. However, there is dust and other particles that are an unavoidable byproduct of all types of demolition, and as a precautionary measure, we're urging residents in the immediate vicinity to stay indoors during the demolition. All the residents that live between 86th Street and 89th Street, Abbott Avenue, and the shoreline are being told to shelter in place from 7 p.m. tonight, which they've already been told, until 2 hours following the demolition. We've produced a detailed flyer with all this information. It has circulated to the residents, and as we speak, it's being circulated, and the media, you'll all get a copy, and also through our social media platforms, through the police department. Police have knocked on the doors, they've spoken to the residents, and they are also sending alerts directly in the immediately affected area. And as an additional precautionary measure, we're recommending residents in the areas affected to ensure that all their windows and doors and air intakes are closed. Also, please be sure to cover any other openings that might allow dust to enter into your apartment, your house, or your building, and turn your air conditioning to recirculate. Do not have fresh air coming in through your air conditioning system. There may be noise and heavy dust in the area immediately surrounding the demolition site. Dust may also drift outside and downwind of the demolition, depending on the weather conditions. If you live in the shelter-in-place zone, which has been distributed on the map, please stay indoors, especially if you suffer from respiratory conditions that would be aggravated by dust. I now want to speak to the concerns of so many who have reached out to us about the status of any pets that may potentially still be in the building. As an animal lover and a pet owner myself my entire life, I have made it a priority since day one to do absolutely everything possible to search for any animals that may still have been in the building. And in the days since the collapse, the Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Team has conducted 3 full sweeps of the premise, including searching in closets, under beds, and all the other places that they could to seek an animal that might have been in hiding. In areas that were not accessible to the personnel, they've used animal live traps, and high-lift cranes were put on the balconies with open doors. They've also used drones with thermal imaging they've sent numerous searches over the rubble pile and in the remaining tower in areas that were unsafe for search and rescue personnel to enter. And the latest information we have is that there are no animals remaining in the building. I just want everyone to know I have taken great personal pains myself to reassure myself of this fact. And we deeply share and appreciate the public's concerns about the welfare of these animals, and that is why we've gone to such great lengths in the search. Those who were forced to evacuate the remaining portion of the building left their entire lives behind, We know that, and we're deeply, deeply concerned and empathetic to how extraordinarily difficult this time is for them and their families. And the bottom line is that we have done absolutely everything possible to locate any animals left in the building, and our first responders have put themselves at great risk in their search efforts. As I've said before, we'll be moving forward with the demolition as soon as it's safe to do so between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. tonight. Bringing the building down in a controlled manner is critical to expanding our scope of search, as you know, in the pile, and allowing us to search in the area closest to the building, which has currently not been accessible to the teams given the great risk to our first responders due to the instability of the building. Due to the temporary pause of our search and rescue efforts on the scene, there have been no changes in the figures that I've reported earlier to you at our last briefing. So as soon as the building is down, and once the site is deemed secure, we will have our first responders back on the pile to immediately resume their work. I urge our community to celebrate July 4th safely and stay prepared as we continue to monitor the trajectory of Tropical Storm Elsa, and please join me in continuing to pray for our first responders, for our families, and our victims. Buenas noches a todos. Quiero comenzar brindando claridad y actualizaciones sobre el proceso de demolición y específicamente cuándo va a Akire. Durante las últimas 48 horas, nuestro equipo de comando unificado ha trabajado incansablemente con expertos en demolición para preparar de manera rápida y segura el edificio para la demolición y para crear un plan de seguridad para el área circundante. La demolición va a ocurrir esta noche entre las 10 y las 3 de la mañana. Todos los residentes que viven entre las calles 86 y 89, Abbott Avenue y La Playa, tienen que refugiarse en sus casas desde las 7 de la noche hasta 2 horas después de la demolición. Como medida de precaución, recomendamos a los residentes en el área impactada que se aseguren de que todas las ventanas, puertas y otra abertura que pueda permitir que el polvo entre en su apartamento, casa o edificio y encienda el aire acondicionado. Ahora quiero hablar sobre las preocupaciones de tantos que se han acercado a nosotros sobre el estado de cualquier animal, cualquier mascota que potencialmente puede estar todavía en el edificio. Como dueña de animales para mi vida entera, desde el primer día he convertido en una prioridad hacer absolutamente todo lo posible para buscar cualquier animal que pueda estar todavía en el edificio. En los días posteriores al colapso, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue ha realizado 3 barridas completas de la propiedad, incluida la búsqueda en los armarios, debajo de las camas y en cualquier otro lugar que pudieron. La última información que tenemos indica que no quedan animales en el edificio. Compartimos y apreciamos profundamente las preocupaciones del público sobre el bienestar de estos animales y es por eso que hemos hecho todo lo posible para buscar, incluyendo las jaulas con comida en los balcones. Derribar el edificio de manera controlada es fundamental para expandir nuestro alcance de búsqueda y permitirnos buscar en el área más cercana al edificio que actualmente no es accesible para nuestros equipos hasta que el edificio ya está ya caído. Debido a nuestra pausa temporal de las actividades de búsqueda y rescate en la escena, no ha habido cambios en ninguna de las cifras que informamos en nuestra última sesión informativa. Tan pronto como el edificio esté seguro, nuestros socorristas reanudarán su trabajo inmediatamente. continúe orando por nuestros valientes socorristas, las familias y las víctimas. Gracias y buenas noches.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And now I welcome Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Thank you so much. Mayor, thank you very much to you and your entire team for all the incredible work that you've done. This has really been such an intensely complex situation to deal with a lot of moving parts, but I will particularly thank you as someone who has multiple four-legged family members myself, and has been an animal champion in Congress for the Humane Society for many years. It is so important that we prioritize our pets because for so many those are just like family members. And so I appreciate, and I've had outreach myself from constituents about the concern over the possibility of pets being left in the building, and I can reassure those that are concerned that the utmost of care and painstaking attention has been made to make sure that not only multiple sweeps were done, but also that they used every possible technology, from the most rudimentary to the most sophisticated, to try to make sure that there were no pets that were able to be rescued in the building. And so that's a comfort, should be a comfort to so many, not just the family members who may have lost pets, but also to people in the community who all love our own pets. The other thing I think it's important to note here, so often demolitions of buildings are a spectacle. It's almost like a show. And this particular demolition is certainly the furthest thing from that. And I appreciate the sensitivity with which the mayor and her team have treated this demolition. I hope the public joins us in recognizing that this demolition is a tragic situation. This is a very tragic situation, not only for those who are still hoping to find loved ones that have survived, but also to the survivor families who got out of the building and all of whom's belongings are in that apartment building. And so this is tragic, not a celebration, not a spectacle, and we need to think about the further loss that the demolition of this building means for all of these families. And so I hope you keep them in your hearts today, because the initial collapse was certainly devastating. The demolition is going to add to that sadness and sorrow. And so we should just keep them in our thoughts today. And lastly, I also want to just mention the importance of focusing on all of the families that have had a loss, whether it is their own apartment and home and belongings and every single thing that was important to them in their lives in their home, and that it's about to be completely gone, or that they are still hoping to have someone found in the rubble or have already lost them. I had a chance to sit down with the survivor families who escaped with their lives, and thankfully we've got FEMA here, and they've been fantastic and responsive. And I've been working with FEMA to just try to make sure that in the aftermath of any disaster, we always have a lot of minutia to deal with, and helping these families get through that minutia and help put the shards of their life back together that have been literally blown to bits is going to be a long haul. So I'm glad I'm here to be able to continue to work with those families, work with our federal partners and local and state partners as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett.
Good evening. I want to first thank Mayor Cava for addressing the pet issue. I think we've all been bombarded with emails regarding the potential rescue of pets that may be in that building. And I want to tell you from my perspective, which is a little different from everybody else's, because I spend most of my time out on the site, on the street, at the community center, talking to the residents and looking around for myself, talking to the rescue teams. And I know for a fact that those teams have been up and down inside that building, and they have told me straight up that had they seen a pet, Had they seen a cage, they would have grabbed it, they would have brought it out, just like they would have brought out any person. Furthermore, we've had drones in there, we've had repeaters in there. I know the police chief has talked about it. So I think, I think folks can be comfortable that we're not leaving anybody behind, which has been the mantra, including our loved pets. Secondly, it appears as though the approaching storm may have been a blessing in disguise for us, in that it initiated the demolition discussion. That discussion has accomplished several things. It's eliminated a looming threat, a dangerous threat for our rescue workers. It will potentially open up probably a third of the pile, so we can all, so the teams can focus not just on 2/3 of the pile, but on the whole thing, which is important. And, we want to make sure that we control which way the building falls and not a hurricane. So all of this together, I think, ended up being a good thing. I've said from the beginning that we don't have a resource problem, we have a luck problem. I'm starting to see this approaching storm as a lucky situation because it forced us into a conversation which has accomplished a lot of good things. Lastly, and by the way, I think that Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz said it well. This is a tragedy. Taking down this building is a sad affair. We have families that have their life's possessions in those units. We had families that had their life possessions in the units that were destroyed. So this is really just a continuation of the tragedy. Unfortunately, this is something that has to be done. Lastly, I want to note that Congresswoman Schultz, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I met with the families, the surviving families, the other day, and it was a good meeting. It was a tough meeting, but one of the things they asked for is a direct connection to the briefings in the morning because they're meeting in a different area. They're in the Marriott Hotel where the families waiting for their loved ones, the missing loved ones, are in the Seaview. So I called our IT people, and they established a direct link into that Marriott Hotel. So now those families are also able to watch the briefings in the morning and in the afternoons, just like the families who are waiting for their missing relatives to be taken out of that debris, which we hope will be resumed very, very quickly after the demolition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And our Creole translator, Cassandra Arnold.
Bonsoir, nom c'est Cassandra Arnold, directeur service résidentiel à directeur affaires haïtiennes. Magistrat veut dire tout le monde merci pour prier nous. Nous voulons tout le monde prendre précaution pendant nous préparer pour tropical storm Elsa parce que nous avons pile la pluie. Concernant chaque action qui est dans le building, depuis le premier jour, nous faisons plusieurs recherches pour eux. Demolition a fait à soir entre 10h du soir à 3h du matin. Nous demandons tout le monde qui vit près du building Surfside là pour être là quand il commence à 7h du soir, jour 2 et temps après démolition. Les buildings descendent, first responders a commencé le travail dans ce site là encore. Moment ça vraiment difficile pour nous toutes. Mais nous voulons dire merci encore pour toute sa communauté a fait pour nous. Merci.
Thank you, Ms. Arnold. And before we begin the questions and answers, we're going to need all the reporters to be behind the barriers, if you don't mind, please. So if we can get you guys behind the barrier, please. I surely appreciate your cooperation. And as usual, for those of us that are just joining us from other states, questions and answers are going to be raise your hand, wait until you're called upon, address your speaker, and then we will try to move on as efficiently and quickly as possible. Start off.
This message is for Mayor Cava. From Channel 10. I just want to know what the conversation was like with those families telling them that the search and rescue had paused for 48 hours to do this. And also, what is the anticipated time frame to resume the search and rescue operation after that last is completed? I know when it's safe, but what's the anticipated time?
We've talked a lot about the communication with families. It's been extraordinary. We have listened to their concerns. We've brought in every expert that they requested. We've brought them along with us every step of the way. And I truly believe, I know, that the family members recognize and appreciate that we are proceeding in the best possible fashion to allow us to do the search that we need to do. So I think there's a great deal of understanding and acceptance of every aspect of this tragedy. We understand that it will be safe to resume the search activities very shortly after the blast, and that is when we'll resume it. We are standing by. We are ready to go in as soon as, no matter the time of night, as soon as the clear is given.
Mayor Cava, both at the CBS 4, why between 3 and, or between 10 and 3 a.m. and also, is there any idea of where the building will be trying, I know you said trying to straight down, but is there any things to make sure it doesn't fall into the building?
Yes, yes. So we've been working around the clock ever since we learned about this method of demolition. And we've been working with the company CDI. They have proceeded to do their preparation, their installation of all the detonation devices. And so the earliest period is between 10 and 3. We don't have an exact time, but we wanted to give everybody a window to anticipate and give them some time to prepare. So we're proceeding as quickly as is possible, given the delicate nature of this. Obviously, it's a very detailed operation. Your second question was?
Anything to ensure it doesn't fall
Yes.
in a different direction?
Yes. So it's been explained, the whole process, to a team of engineers, structural engineers, from the federal to the state and to the local, and we all have understood that the process is very exact and that the building will fall within the perimeter that's been outlined.
Spanish meter right here.
Señora alcaldesa, en español, por favor, mi pregunta es de dos partes. La primera, ¿hay alguna razón, suponemos técnica muy importante, para que esa ventana sea tan larga de 5 horas, por la cual ustedes no han decidido una hora exacta? Y mi segunda pregunta es, ¿cuánto va a demorar en sí el derribo del edificio controladamente? ¿Va a ser algo similar a lo que ocurrió en la tragedia, unos segundos?
Primero estamos con una ventana porque así dice lo que está haciendo la demolición, que está preparando, siguiendo, y él va a notificarnos inmediato cuando está disponible, pero no tuvimos la hora específica y por eso hicimos la ventana. Pero dentro de la ventana va a caer el edificio. La segunda pregunta es el área.
¿Cuánto va a demorar?
Oh, demorar, sí. Me parece que sería muy, muy rápido. Eso fue la información que hemos recibido.
More over here.
ABC understands that the East Tower of Champlain Towers is suggesting that their people evacuate the building. Are you aware of that? Are other buildings being asked to evacuate? Will you help with that? And then for Chief, I know you went in looking for animals and human life. Were you able to recover, or did you even attempt to recover wedding rings and computers or anything like that?
As to the other buildings, there has not been a suggested evacuation. Simply what I've told you, to stay inside, to close your windows, put your air conditioning on recirculation. It is not expected anything other than some light debris would potentially affect those buildings. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, the chief, I'm sorry.
Chief.
No for the second part of the question. We just no for the second part of the question.
Number 5.
Estamos en conversación con estas familias 2 veces al día y cualquier otras preguntas que tienen. y ellos están con nosotros cada día aprendiendo el proceso y los límites que tenemos, los problemas que hemos encontrado, y ellos tienen mucha confianza, yo puedo decir, en los que están haciendo la búsqueda y rescate, y por eso ellos entendieron muy bien que para seguir adelante con la búsqueda de la parte cerca del edificio tuvimos que bajar el edificio.
Over here. USA Today.
¿Cómo?
Fue difícil la conversación.
Sí, estas conversaciones son bastante difíciles, imagínense, pero ellos están siempre aprendiendo con nosotros, entendiendo exactamente los problemas que llegan y las soluciones.
Alcaldesa,
USA Today over here.
una pregunta en español. Thank you. When you run for election today, thank you so much for everything that you all are doing to try to help the pets. Clear up where I think a lot of the discrepancy is there was early report that first responders were leaving one of the cats on balcony. So then when we hear that no pets were found, I think that's where the conflicting information is coming in. Can you speak to that? And if maybe that cat was rescued? Because we know that
Yes.
cat was there, so that's kind of conflicting.
Yes. So it was said that there was food and water, I guess, left for a cat. That apartment was thoroughly searched and no cat was found. Now, I am a pet owner, a cat owner my entire life, and I know that cats are extremely resilient. I'm very hopeful that this cat found her way out and will be discovered, but at this time there were no pets after very careful search.
CNN, you had a question?
Yes, this is for Mayor Cava or whoever is best suited to answer. After the demolition is complete, can you address what the search operation will be, and how will it change after the building comes down? Will it change? How will it change? And are the Israelis still part of that operation?
Yes, the Israelis are still part of the operation. And when the building comes down, there'll be several different features that we'll have to address, obviously, with the demolition, and that'll be the priority in securing the scene in that sense. And once it's secure, then we will go back to the debris pile and we'll begin our search and rescue efforts. We'll start off, obviously, setting up our equipment, deploying rescue teams onto the mound, and then begin the search again.
Thank you, Chief. Spanish right here. Wait until you're called upon. One question here. Thank you.
Which one?
Right here, the white shirt.
Okay.
Alcaldesa, en español and then in English the same person. Las pertenencias personales de la gente de la torre que están en pie, ¿hay algún proceso para catalogar esas pertenencias? ¿Se les ha devuelto a estas personas? ¿Ellas pudieron recuperar algo de sus propiedades?
I'm going to answer in English first, and also we could hear from our police director. There is a process in place with a form that we have distributed to the residents of the tower and family members as well. Any items that they can list for us, provide any kind of proof, any photographs. We're eager to return their items to them, and we want to begin to gather all that information. The items that are coming out of the search are being cataloged. Their location is being indicated with GPS. They're being put in certain bins depending on the nature, and they will be well protected throughout the process. Anything else?
That's accurate. That's pretty much, but they're not GPS. They're picked up.
Oh, picked up. Okay.
GPS is the evidence.
Oh, the GPS, the evidence. Okay. Okay. Tenemos un proceso en que las familias y también las familias de las víctimas y también los que estaban en el edificio enfrente pueden marcar las cosas de valor que tienen, dar su prueba, cualquier cosa que pueden enseñar, fotos, cualquier otra cosa para enseñar que son las cosas de ellos, y están marcando y poniendo en unas cajas específicas para que ellos puedan recoger después. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're going to go with NBC right here, and the last question over here in the corner.
Good evening, Mayor. You guys were talking earlier about this demolition team, and I know earlier referred to a key involved. How big is this crew that was analyzing the site, who was actually laying these explosives, and if I could, who is the key? In one other part of that, it's at what point tomorrow do you guys anticipate being able to get to that surface the rubble that is presently there, and essentially wiping away the new material and beginning truly that rescue effort below?
Let me answer the second question first, and then Kevin Guthrie can talk about the demolition effort. The rubble pile has been covered to protect it from any additional debris, but the debris is not intended to go on that pile. It will be separate, but just in case, to mark the differentiation, there is a tarp. And it is expected, as I said, as soon as the all clear in the middle of the night, our search and rescue operation will resume and will go to that pile that they've been waiting to search.
Yeah, I'll reiterate what the mayor just said is, we have a high degree of confidence it's going to come down right where we want it to come down, and it's not going to interfere with the fire chief's capability to get in and search the 1/3 of the pile that has not been yet searched. Right, so that's one of the biggest reasons we're doing this. I think it's important to thank the leadership of the governor just to go out there and get this done within about 36 to 40 hours. So I think we have to acknowledge that. As far as the number of individuals that are out there working for the contractor and subcontractor, I don't have that number. I will tell you it's a lot. But what I will do is I'll have our comms director make sure we get that number for tomorrow's press conference and follow that up.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Last question right here, corner at the hat.
Well, we have a perimeter. It's well defined, and I'll let the police speak to that. And we are very confident with the borders that we've established in terms of safety.
Good evening. Yes, our officers are strategically positioned throughout the area from 8-6 to 8-9 on the western quarter of Abbott and on the Surfside as well. And our goal is to ensure that we keep our public safe and allow the work to be done in a safe and expeditious manner.
Thank you, folks. I surely appreciate it.
Thank you.